and other people can join in if they need to. Kia ora koutou, everyone. I'm Louise Gallagher from PANZ, and with me we have Leslie Ann Kelly, who is the Office Manager at PANZ, and also will be helping with registrations if anyone has any questions, which people can email through any sort of questions regarding whether it's about registrations or about the market in general to the info@pans.org.nz email address. And we also have Emily Hakaraya, who is our Associate Producer, who will also be working on the arts market. And we've got Sarah Knight, based here in Adelaide with National Touring Selector. So Sarah is going to run everyone through and how to apply for their expression of interest for the PANZ Arts Market in 2020. Do feel free to use the little chat function at the bottom of the screen if you have any questions, and we'll try and answer as we go along. And again, if you have any questions afterwards, feel free just to email through or anything like that. We're here to help throughout the whole process, not just today. Applications open this week and will be open for a month. So, but we do recommend that people start working on their applications sooner rather than later, because sometimes you need to go and find other bits of information. A strong application, will further your chances of success of being selected either for a pitch or showcase. Just as a general sort of guideline, we generally have twice as many applications as we can actually accommodate. So even if you're not successful in your application, we still really highly recommend that actually you attend as a delegate, because there are so many other opportunities to meet with presenters and other people in the industry that you actually get a lot out of just even attending as a delegate. There's lots of networking functions and lots of forums where you actually interact with international and national presenters. So I'll just hand over to you now, Sarah, if you'd like to start taking everyone through. And just before we start though, has anyone got any questions before we start? Nope. Okay, great. So over to you. Thanks, Sarah.
So I've just put all your mutes on, so when it just stops static. So if you do have a question, you'll need to re-sound yourselves and use the chat section. So I'm going to show you the mechanics of how it is. I don't have what makes a fantastic PANZ application. I can just tell you where to put all the information, so that if you've got questions regarding what people are looking for in the synopsis or budgets or anything like that, PANZ is your first call and they can answer those sort of questions. And I'm your sort of mechanics, technical difficulties with the whole process. I have mobile and email, which you can get me on, and all those numbers are available on the site. So I'm going to do a lot of sharing of the screen. So I'm hoping now that you are all seeing the National Touring Selector site, and I will be relying on PANZ to tell me if it's not. So the URL is, if you have not been to our site before, it's touringselector.com, and when PANZ will have all those kind of links when they do their email outs and stuff. So if you are not already a member, it's about 4 steps that you need to take to make a full application. If you're already a member, there's probably only 2. But the first thing you obviously need to do is join. And it's always going to go a little bit slower than you want. And when so the language is slightly different between Australia and New Zealand, but we think of producer as anybody who is creating a work, and a presenter is anybody who has a stage to put that work on. So if you are applying for to pitch at the arts market, you are a producer, a creator, or an artist. So the basic thing is you join and you request an account. Now the trick with this requesting account is it can take up to 2 days to activate. And that's mainly just because I don't work on weekends, but I do try and monitor over the weekend. So don't leave it to the last minute. It's a fairly straightforward join thing. You create a login name, a password, and you just go through all these details. And I'll give you a little short hack here. Don't write a big bio. You can update that later. Just put a couple of X's and you're away. If you know that there is already like a producer profile on the NTS. This is where you might write your producer profile name that's already there. Say you New Zealand Dance, is that right? New Zealand Dance might already have a producer profile, and you would write New Zealand, if I could spell New Zealand Dance, and then I would know to link you to that. Otherwise, you leave that blank. So that's very, very simple. Remembering it takes 2 days. So I will just get out of that now, and we will go to, once your account has been activated, and now you should be seeing basically the membership dashboard for a producer. There's a couple of things up there. My profiles. The first thing you do is you create a profile about you as an organization, and that's going to seem a little weird if you're a one-man band or a one-woman band. I mean, that doesn't make anything less, but it does seem a bit strange. So in that area, you're talking about, and let me just show you some. So you've got, because these probably don't have much in. So let's look at critical stages. So in this area, you would be talking about how long you have been touring or producing work. So if you're an artist as well as the producer, you need to take your artist hat off and put your producer hat on and say, have you got experience touring work? Or have you got experience touring work on another show? And putting it all there. So this is building that sort of trust when a presenter reads this profile about who you are as a business person. If you're a large organization, or you're, like Bats Theatre, well, this is where you'd put that information, and it's slightly easier, although they're a presenter. Excuse me. Anyway, so your dashboard, you've got 2 areas. You can go to dashboard here, or the members area. So that was the profile. So the first thing you do is you make a producer profile. You click create profile. I've already created a few in my testing, my pretend profile. I have a number of organizations that I'm producing for. The second thing you do is you create your production listing. Now, this is the item that you will apply to the markets for. And this is the thing that takes the longest. So give yourself, I would say, minimum a week to have a look at this, unless you're an overnight junkie and want to, cram all night. So you just press create new production at the top. I've already got one here. So you click to edit once it's created, and this is where you stick all your information. So this first one we see is the key info, and this is where we just give the name of our production, so whatever it is. The Sound of Music would go up there. You enter the country. It's very important that you enter New Zealand, because there's a couple of automated things that happen for people who enter New Zealand. You enter your province, and then you would enter the first short synopsis for your piece. And as it says, this is a short, punchy version. It's the thing that'll capture their attention that's about your piece. You choose your art form. Some people are inclined to choose every single art form. There's nothing saying you can't, but try and narrow it down a little bit. And then you also would choose what sort of what stage is this production at? Is it still just an idea? Is it an idea that's now in development, rehearsal? Is it ready to go now that you don't need to re-rehearse it? Or is it something that is tour ready? So you'd need to have a certain amount of presenters to warrant a tour. Now, the difference between these is the difference between how much information you will enter. So if I just press idea, I'll only really be asked for some images, a synopsis, maybe a rough idea of the budget, and that's it. So do choose the right one, and don't start with idea and then realize and choose tour ready, because a whole lot more information opens up. And then you're available too. So when do you feel that this production will be touring and viable to? When is your cast available? When is the set? Whatever's available. So obviously it will be well into 2021. We would make that assumption, but it might even go into 2022. So you always save at the bottom of the page. And the next one is credits. And well, I will say, if you don't have what the NTS is asking for, you don't need to put it. So if you don't have music that is composed for your piece, you don't need to put that answer and it won't show on the front screen. So you just step down these options and choose to fill in what you would like. Is an area for reviews. So some people just do URLs, and some people will do small quote and then a link to a URL. I think small quote is quite good because it gives them a little snapshot and gives them that choice to go to a URL. And you can put your URL just by inserting links. If I had the New Zealand Post, and then I would select that, insert link, and then I'd put the URL up there. And then that would make this thing a hyperlink so that the presenter would click onto it. And again, if you're going to forget this, either you obviously can watch this video or give me an email and I will run you through it. I'm always available. The next thing will be your images. So we already have one image, but we might just choose another one. I'm going to stick that one, and you can make either of these your hero shot. So that's the shot you wish to show on the main page. So you just click that, and hopefully. Sometimes there is a little bit of lag in the system, and this will come towards the end of the EOA process when everyone is getting on board and they all want to enter on the same day, and these image files, they're quite large versions. So if you find, oh, my picture is not updating, what's going on, you just need to give it a little bit of time, and there's a little message here that says, and also maybe F5, refresh your page. I think for Macs it's Command R. Because your cache will be holding old information. But if you feel there is a problem, just give me an email and I'll tell you what's showing. Yeah, it can be a lag. It can be up to about 5 minutes in peak time. So don't freak about that, but it will update. So videos, you can add videos. So these need to be either on YouTube or Vimeo. And I'll just take those off and show you how we put them on. So you take the link from YouTube and you just get rid of the base. So you just want those numbers at the end. So you'll see in YouTube that, and Vimeo as well, that there is some link numbers at the end. With Vimeo, there is a, if you've got a pro account, sometimes the privacy restrictions mean that we can't see your videos. So sometimes you'll need to add touringselector.com in your domain level privacy settings. So again, if you're freaking out, give me an email and I'll work through that with you. Now up the top, you see this little preview mode profile, and you can preview at any stage. So you want to see what a presenter sees. Yes, we always want to save. Okay. So, oh, there it is. So this is taking you to the public page, also showing you, I haven't created a subscription, so that's why you see preview at this stage, because it's saying that it's not live, nobody can see it except you, but this is what it will look like to the public. So there's your couple of videos that we've put in, and that's what things are looking like. So keep using that preview screen because it gives you a good idea of where you're at. Can I go back? Yes, I can. Oh, and then you can just click into update profile to continue on. Okay, so after that it becomes pretty straightforward, I think, but you can add some files, PDFs, if you've got maybe some examples of flyers or something you might have done. PDF is pretty much the only, or JPEGs you can add here. In performance info, this is where we're starting to get into a little bit more. You've got to remember now you're speaking to presenters. It's not about marketing to the public now. You're starting to tell the presenter exactly what the show will look like on stage, who will be there. So this synopsis, you might might not take this from your flyer copy or website copy. You might need to put a presenter's hat on and think what they will see on stage. It is availability at short notice, so that's pretty explanatory. You've got your durations, intervals. This minimum break means if you can do 2 shows in a day, what is the break between the shows that you can have? Often like kids shows will have a couple of a day and they'll say, but we can't have them closer than 2 hours. So it has to be a 10 o'clock and a 12 o'clock show or something, or a 1 o'clock show, depending on the duration. Performance history, this is where you might write, audience development is about what sort of things have been done in the past, or how can you help with the marketing or the finding of the audience for the show. So it's a free write. You can put your examples in there. Again, if you don't have anything to write, just leave it. Don't think I have to fill in every section. It's about creating a comprehensive listing that relates to your work, and not all these questions will relate to your type of work. You can also sort of manipulate things a little bit as well and go, hey, I need a space to write this thing about my show. So feel free to be a little bit creative. Performance history, that's just where you've performed before. Always good to show, because then the presenter can obviously maybe call up that person and say, how did the show go at your place? Always saving. I'm being a bit naughty by not saving here. The personnel, so who are the creators for the work and who will be touring, because that's quite important. So you might have 4 artists on the road and a lighting operator, and the director's name is, but they won't be touring. So that's where you would write that. And the one that probably gives everybody the most heartache is the budget. There are a couple of sections for the budget. The pre-tour costs. So if you need to re-rehearse or remount the show in order to do a tour, you may put those costs back to a presenter. That doesn't apply to everybody, but some people have a remount cost. That's that first section. Again, these sections are just guidelines. You don't have to fill in every one. If you just know, what the total is, then you go with that. But you could just put it under. They're not going to appear on the front screen. I'll show you in a minute what it looks like. So if I just put a number in here, we'll make it really expensive. That goes to the total. Every time I add another amount, it ups the total. So say I just know the total and I don't really want to break it down. I don't have to. And then your weekly costs. So this is once you are on that tour, what are the costs involved? Everything except your travel, your accommodation, and your living away from home allowances goes in here. So we want your wages. How much does it cost to pay the lighting person? How much will it cost to, if you've got any rental equipment, that sort of thing would go in here. Again, these headings may not match you perfectly, so you can choose to sort of play with them how you want. I'll just put some random figures in here, and that's now building me a weekly cost down there. Royalties, if you need to pay royalties back to your lighting designer or something like that, you would just put the royalties in here, say, I don't know what, 5%, sounds pretty good. The contract conditions, now you could, we've put an example. You can use this area to talk about conditions of the price. You might say, we are flexible with this price. Either have a lighting operator tour or your lighting operator. So feel free to do a bit of talking in this space to know where your negotiation points are. Also, if you've got a show that you're thinking to do internationally and nationally, those costs might differ here. So this is a space where you can free type and give a few explanations. And also the alternate fee structure. You can do, this one saying, there's just pay $5,000 a show plus travel, accommodation and living away allowances. There'll be no weekly fee. So let's have a look what this looks like on screen so you can see what I'm saying about. So down to the go down to fee budget. It's called budget. So now you can see the remount is 100,000. Quite an expensive show, this one, but so the remount is $100,000, and the weekly fee is only $2,500. But there's an alternate fee structure of $5,000, and it does not include travel costs. So that's what it's going to look like. So that's what I'm saying. You don't have to be hemmed in by those categories. It's not essential if you're feeling they're not working for you. That's what it's going to look like on the other side. So we'll go back into our update profile. Marketing is the next one. Again, there are a lot of boxes here for you to fill out. You choose what you think works. But I think probably the main one that I would think would be important is, who does your work most appeal to? So you might have a star in the leading role. So Brad Pitt is in the leading role, so obviously his fan base this show is going to appeal to, but it also appeals to women generally 40 plus, something like that. So you really wanted to tell the presenter so they can go, yeah, that's going to fit in the venue. We have that. Again, the rest of it, if you don't feel it applies to you, you don't need to fill it out, except you might want to update these if they don't apply. So I'm just scrolling down. You can do this, all the scrolling down. There's just lots and lots of different options that you can put in there. Scroll back to the top. Tech. Now, you may not be up to knowing the tech for your the touring show, but you need to give the presenter a good example of what the scale of your show is. I mean, are you touring with a full-scale set? Obviously, that's going to be a different kettle of fish than, you know, a one-woman show on stage with just a wash of lights. This is where you talk about those tech requirements. Again, you can free write in here, but you might be looking at we tour with all our moving lights and all our trusses or something like that, or we would require from the venue just a general 4-color wash on the stage or something like that. So put it in, and noting that you can update this as we come up to the arts market next year. So, and this won't be the thing, and Louise can correct me, that the panel is going to go, oh, hell no, that's not going to work. It just gives them a flavor of what your show is like. So it's very important to put it in that scale. Am I full set, medium size, small? What am I going to need from a venue to get my show up? The crew, also, this is kind of important for knowing, it's just like the touring party is important. It's also important to know how long your show might take to bump in. Is it a 3-day bump in? Is it a 1-day bump in? Or is it bump in day of show? So these are the kind of things. Again, put some notes up in this bump in notes. If you don't want to fill out all of this stuff, you might just go, I'll give you a general taste of what our tech looks like pre-show by writing it up here. You can don't worry about the tour coordinator, don't worry about the touring pack. They not for this application required. Don't worry about the producer, and the info stats just shows how many people have looked at your show, I think. Let's go and have a look, because we're not even live. Just, yeah, as it says, it's really just stats. So that is the production listing. So as you can see, it's quite comprehensive. It will take you some time, and it will take you some thought, and you may be going, oh my God, I don't even know what I'm going to write in these places. So give it some time, speak to some people, and think creatively. Just because it says market segment, that you don't have to fill that in, but you need to give as much comprehensive information to the curator panel first. They're the first ones. They're your first audience, is that curator panel. Think what's in their head. Once you are successful, I hope you all are, successful getting in, the next audience you're speaking to is presenters. So you might tweak it after that initial time to change your language. So you've got those two opportunities. Always think about who's reading. And remembering, this is not about general public or ticket sales speak, because that's for once the show's on the road. You've got a question? I'm always here, and I've toured many shows, so I've contacts with many people, so I can probably ask you questions. Now, the big thing, how do we enter that to the PANZ market? So there is one more step. Just because you have a production listing, that's not the end of it. You have to now put that into the market. So I'm going to find another screen now, hopefully. There be she. Okay. Hopefully you're seeing a slide now that says how to use your production listing to apply for the arts market. Yep. No? You're not seeing that?
No.
Yes or no?
I do see it.
Oh, good. You do see it. Okay. So the first thing you must make sure is that your production is live. So in the key information area, there's this publish button. And generally, once you've done a production listing, you forget where it is because you've got so much going on. And feel free to email me and I'll remind you. But make sure you publish it. And that means it's live for people to see. But there's another thing you need to do. At the top is this no subscription found thing. You'll see this red writing. Now, it is free for you to enter the PANZ Arts market. However, we still do need to step through a payment gateway. So you will see, it should say at the top, because you've chosen your New Zealand company, some sort of language similar to this. It's going to be tweaked. And then you'll go through and you'll instantly see that a promotion code has been applied and that you're actually paying no money. If you're seeing money there and it's not working, give me a call. Do not pay to enter the PANZ Arts market because you don't need to. And then you just pay online. Okay, so now we want to enter our live, subscribed, published show into the market. So we click on the market, we find the correct logo. There may be other logos going on, but you're looking for this PANZ Arts logo. Then you come to this page, which is the overview page. You scroll to the bottom, and this page is especially for you. Nobody else sees this. This area at the bottom is when you get to the market where you'll see your expressions of interest. It is also where you add or remove your production to the round. So you submit your production and then you find the production in the list that you want, and it has to be a subscribed item. It's not going to let you add something that's not subscribed. So you add it to the round, and then you'll see some questions. You'll see this question asked again. You already have that in your key information area, so choose the right one. You're going to have questions like, what are you applying for? A pitch, a showcase, a full showcase, an encounter? Or do you just want to do the tour makers thing only? So there's a whole lot of questions. There's not too many. And you get to the bottom of this page and you just press continue once you finish the questions and you're in. So that's it. But you must remember this last section, otherwise you're not into it. If you go, oh no, I got it wrong, or I want to stop, you can go back to that overview page, which you went through My Markets and you pressed on the PANZ logo and you saw over, you scroll to the bottom of the page, and then you can remove your show from the round. Once the EOI process is the curator panel is looking at your show, you will no longer be able to do that. But up until the date, which is, I can't remember right now, Louise will tell us the closing date of the EOIs, up until that date you can take it out. So that's it. I know I've gone very, very fast. I've tried to sort of skim over things, but knowing is a 4-stage. You must join touringselector.com. Then you must make a producer profile, then a production profile, and then you add it to the round. Give yourself a lot of time because computers are fickle things and technology is frustrating. So you don't want to leave this to the last night. I promise you, you will go grey like me if you do that. Give yourself some time, because the questions can be, you may have not thought about those questions before, and they may just sort of trick you a little bit. You might need to go, hey friend, other producer, or hey Louise, what would I answer for this question? So that's my biggest tip. Give yourself time. So you can get online today and start doing that process. And nothing will be showing publicly, but you can sort of play with it. If you unfortunately were not successful to the arts market, your production will remain on touringselector.com for up to a year. So that means that our presenter membership, they're from New Zealand and Australia and international, will be able to see your production. Now, if that's something you don't want, then you'll need to actually email and ask for it to be taken off. But I think it's a benefit. People will see your work, and it gives you a little bit more exposure to what you're doing. It hasn't cost you anything except time, well, a lot of time, but it just puts you in that search. And so when people are searching on our website and they're looking for children's work, and yours is a children's work, it will come up as an option. So it's a sort of nice little byproduct of having entered the arts market. So that will also mean that in about a year's time, you'll get a thing that says, would you like to review? And you can say no to that, or you might go, hey, this was something I did enjoy having my show up there. And then after that, there is a cost. But to enter this arts market, there are no costs to do an EOI into the market. I finish.
Yay!
That's great. Thanks, Sarah. Has anyone got any questions at this stage? Anything that popped up through that process? Any immediate questions?
I do. I'm sorry, I just tuned in a few minutes late. So the due date to get this in, what's that?
So that date is the 31st of August, but we'll probably actually extend it by a couple of days to the 2nd of September.
Right.
But we ask people to probably try and get it in by the 31st.
Thank you. That's great.
Sorry, what was that other date again?
So we're saying sort of the 31st of August as an official sort of date, but we will probably allow, because of that sort of bottleneck often on that last day, up until the 2nd of September.
Oh.
Yeah, but you only know that because you've joined this round.
We won't tell anyone else.
Yeah, don't tell anyone. Don't tell anybody, otherwise.
Just a question from Tracy. Tracy's asked, if you have two shows touring together, a children's show during the day and an adult show at night, would you apply separately or as one touring package?
Ooh.
You would probably apply separately. Unless if it is really actually almost like a one show with two shows in it. So we've had other companies who often have a children's show and an adults version, and they are two separate listings, because then actually you kind of almost want to ensure you've got as many options available to you presenters. Some presenters might kind of go, actually, I don't want the children's show, but I'm interested in the evening show. So it's up to you in terms of what that product is, but I would suggest two listings, and then just mention in each that there is a adult's version and a child's version, or if it is really just yeah.
Can I ask another question?
Of course.
Yeah. So the date of this arts market and the location, where would that be?
Yes, so that's in Auckland next year, and so that's held within the Arts Precinct of Auckland, so that's around Auckland Live, Q Theatre, around this precinct. And the dates for that are Monday the 9th through to Thursday the 12th of March.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
It's possible to enter multiple pictures or shows, being that it's 2021, so you could have fully a tour ready work and also an idea of a work that you just want to start flagging up.
Absolutely, you can have as many productions as you've got, as you say, Marama, whether it's sort of an idea or whether it's a full showcase or something. But particularly for companies who've got a bevy of works, you're more than welcome, to put in as many as you've got available.
Great. If I may ask another question?
Of course.
So I'm actually just starting to tour one of my performances with Arts on Tour for this month. Mm-hmm. Is it still useful for me to also get to an arts market with that same show? Because it's more an national and international presenters that come there. Is that right?
Yes, so it's predominantly a national presenters market, but we are actually growing the presence from international presenters. So this year, for the first time, we called internationalise the market. So we had a total of around 23 international presenters this year, And next year we probably will look at kind of increasing that by a small amount.
Mm-hmm.
So again, you'll know where your work, it might be just actually it's not for international, but just about every presenter in New Zealand, from festivals through to smaller venues and the larger venues, attend the arts market. It is the sort of the largest industry event. And it's just a really great place to also network with fellow artists and fellow producers. You know, we do hold forums, so there's some sort of professional development opportunities. There's some, you know, it's about kind of like what's the sort of talk in the industry at the moment. And it's just a really fabulous sort of networking opportunity. And what we often sort of say is that we, even though there's part of the market that's a bit transactional in terms of sort of, you know, you're trying to sell your show and people are wanting to buy it and things like that, it's really about a relationship. So a lot of these relationships are formed and that might actually kind of come to fruition within the next sort of few years. But, you know, it's about kind of being here and having those relationships. So we try and really emphasise the opportunities to actually build relationships within the market, and other opportunities for you to talk about not only the work you've got at the moment, but actually what you might be thinking of. And it's just, so it's a real sort of, really collective place to meet.
Nice one. And if there is any, I'm just creating a work for the Nelson Arts Festival this year, and by the time the 31st of August, that work is not fully ready yet, but it will be ready in October. Would that still be useful for me to enter that? Because I see that some of them, you know, you can have a different section of some of the work is already ready. But by the time I enter, the work won't not be ready yet. But by the time that the markets will be on, the work will be ready. So what category you reckon I should fill in?
You put the category in terms of when the market is the timing of the market, about where that work is at that point. Because that's what you'll be talking to the presenters about at that point.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Right. Thank you.
No worries at all. And as I say, if you've got any other sort of questions, between Sarah, myself, Leslie Ann, feel free just to sort of email anything through. We're really happy to chat through anything. I'm based here in Auckland, sort of working out of an office at Q Theatre, so I'm available if anybody wants to meet for a one-on-one and talk about either their application or about the work they're doing or anything like that. So I'm available for that, those kind of opportunities as well. Does anyone else have any other questions at this point? Yep, muted. Hi, Fingal. Yeah.
Sorry, it's probably on the website, but just the difference between a buy now and a tour ready show.
So sort of buy now. So tour ready means it's completely ready. It doesn't need any remount.
Okay.
So it's kind of ready to go out the door tomorrow. So it can have a short lead time. It might not need a remount or rehearsal period. Whereas sort of buy now indicates that it's probably going to either need a significant remount or maybe even just a minor remount, but it's going to require a lead in time, which generally is most sort of shows if they're ready. That's generally the category for that.
And buy now.
Yeah. Okay. There's very few that don't require any kind of remount. The odd one might be because it's actually ready coming out of a festival or something like that, but generally it's buy now. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
How common is it for presenters to invest in the remount, or is that generally up to the company, or is it a case-by-case negotiation?
It is a case-by-case negotiation, Adama. So sometimes, the festivals will, contribute to remount. Yeah. Through tour makers, we contribute through remount. Yeah. But it's very rare, probably, for venues directly to invest within a remount. They're really looking for really what it costs for the show. They're often not in a financial position to also cover any remount. So generally, you're looking at festivals and ourselves, and you'd be looking to maybe cover that remount through a funding application.
Yeah. Cool, thank you.
No worries. Okay. There's no more burning questions. I just want to thank you all for taking the time to have a look at National Touring Selector, and hopefully once you get into it, you find it easy to use. But yeah, it becomes a really good resource tool, not only for presenters but for yourselves as well, to be able to pull that information, because that's the information that presenters are always looking for. But yeah, thank you for your time. And
Thank you.
Yeah, do keep an ear out for our emails that will come through. There'll be information about the market, as well as the process. So just to also maybe articulate a little around the process. So when the applications come in, all applications are reviewed by a panel of around about 12 people, and that's throughout the industry. So it's presenters, it's artists, it's sort of Māori Pacifica representation. So it's a really diverse panel that look at all of the applications that come through, and then that selection is defined by that. So, and then we advise you sort of really by sort of towards the end of September whether you've been successful or not, and it might be that actually the odd one we might kind of go, actually we might come back to you for a little bit more further information or something like that. But yeah, at any time we're available for any discussions. And then more information will come out towards the end of the year about the actual structure of the arts market, about what the forums are and what the schedule looks like, where are those opportunities to network and things like that. Great. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
See ya.
Bye.